Hello, welcome to my video, and in this one I'm going to show you the game between Richard Rapport and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave from the semifinals in game 1. And let's get to it. We had the Grunfeld, the specialty of Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. After a couple of more moves, we had the bishop c4 variation. Maxime played c5, knight e2, just holding this center. Castling, bishop e3, and now knight c6. The key here is to put pressure on d4, and that's what black is doing. Rook c1, white tries to delay castling, maybe to leave some option of h4, h5 at some point. It's time for black to capture on d4, cd, and now queen a5. And here white has an option of going for king f1, and then going for h4, h5, but this move queen a3 can become really unpleasant. And the point behind this move is after h4, bishop g4 stops h5, and because of queen a3 you don't have f3 as an option, because the bishop on e3 hangs. In this position, Rapport chose to go for rook c3, immediately putting his rook on a very uncomfortable square, but at the same time delaying castling. Now Maxime plays e5, which is a very nice move, trying to target this d4 pawn. You cannot castle now because of ed4 and losing some material, because the rook is tied to a knight. The best choice here is to play d5, not to open up the bishop. And now Maxime plays knight d4, still stopping the castling, because in that case you just lose the rook again. But actually here the better move was to go for b5. And also, I forgot to mention this thing. After rook c3, rook d8 was very interesting. Now knight d4 is a big threat. How to deal with this? If queen d2, then bishop g4 first. And I want to show you the one small difference between going bishop g4 first or immediately going bishop e6. Black has the idea of going bishop e6 at some point, and after this, castling to take on d4. And if knight d4, bishop d4, bishop d4, e5, and to get the pawn back to have an equal position. But in this particular case, there's this move, queen h6, and after grabbing the pawn, rook h3, this is a lost position for black, because he's going to lose h7 and his king is in so much danger. If we go back a bit, bishop e6 won't work. This knight d4 tactical shot doesn't work on time. Why not bishop g4 first? I want to go bishop e2, take and take on d4. Logically, white wants to go f3, and then I go back to e6. Point is, after you capture and castle, now black has knight d4, and after this, bishop d4, now there's no queen h6 and rook h3 because the f pawn is there. Maxime played e5, and after d5, knight d4. Actually here, b5 was interesting. And the point is, after bishop b3 to go knight d4 with a very good play. You cannot capture on d4 because the rook hangs on c3. If you go for queen d2, there is bishop h3. You cannot castle because of knight takes e2 and losing the rook. If you take on d4 like this, bishop takes g2, you either take on d4, after this you take, and then e4 hangs as well. Or you go bishop c5, but then bishop takes h1, bishop f8 takes, and then the e4 pawn becomes a target. After b5 in the initial position, you can also go bishop d3, but I think after knight b4 and losing the bishop pair, because if you go back, you just lose the pawn. And if you castle, now capturing the pawn is not so pleasant for black, because he might lose that knight, or at least some pawns on the queen side. So I think the better choice here was just to take on d3, and after this to go b4, bishop a6 next, and with the bishop pair I think black has decent chances. But Maxime chose to play knight d4, and now bishop d2. Now bishop d7, very logical, trying to connect his rooks. But now Rapport takes and goes rook c1. Now there is this nice center. Black has majority on the queen side, 2 against 1, and has a passed pawn in the center, but all of that is very, very far from realization. Now Maxime plays queen a3, and now Rapport offers the trade. Goes queen b3. If the queen moves back to e7, then bishop d3 just short castle and start pushing f4, e5, and so on and so on. Here Maxime chose to take on b3 and bishop takes. Now rook c7 is a strong threat. Maxime ignores this and he plays rook a e8. First he attacks the e4 pawn. The more natural feels rook a c8 here. And now you can try king e2. If after f5 white's pawns get somewhat broken, you cannot play f3 because of bishop b5, and now the king cannot get to f2 because of fe4. So you have to go to d1, which gives black some counterplay. After capturing king c1, fe, rook f2, the pawns will get blocked fairly easily, and bishop gets to e5. The pawns on the king side might become targets. After f5, f3 is not the way to go. You can take on f5, but even then, the d5 pawn becomes, although a passed pawn, also it becomes a weakness. Just rook a c8 was much better to play in this position. But he played rook a e8, and now Rapport plays f3. Maxime doesn't admit he made a mistake, he plays f5. He plays principally, but it's a wrong move. Because now Rapport has rook c7. Maxime is hoping that he would crash white's center, but now it's too late. After a4, now you cannot capture on e4. Maybe this is something that he missed in calculations. White can just include d6 check, and after this, to take on b5 and to meet this with rook e7. Because if white doesn't have rook e7, then rooks can become quite dangerous. If, let's say, this, fg, and rook f1 next. But after rook e7, black is a piece down and it's a simply lost position. So after this, bishop d3 was played, trying to keep more pressure on the e4 pawn, but Rapport gives a check, king h8, and now d7. The d pawn is becoming a key factor. Rook goes to b8, and now bishop b4. Leaving the e4 pawn undefended, but attacking the rook. Now if rook d8, then you just have bishop e7 and you win the exchange. Maxime tries bishop e5 here, bishop f8, bishop c7, and now bishop e7, controlling the d8 square, not allowing rook d8. King g7 is played because the bishop f6 was checkmate threat. And now Rapport plays a very nice move, e5, making the second passed pawn, using the fact that bishop e5 is impossible because of d8 queen. And now black desperately wants to open up the queen side to eventually have some mess after this and rook b5, attacking both e5 and the bishop on b3. So Rapport doesn't allow that, and he plays bishop f6 first. King goes to f8, because if it goes to h6, then you just push the e pawn and e7 comes next. So it's not helping too much. He goes to f8, and now e6 anyways. Now bishop d8 to stop the e pawn, and now bishop e5. Rook goes to b6, bishop d4, and now rook c6, but Rapport now took bishop b5, because even if you lose the rook like this, there is bishop c5 in the end, and if bishop e7 queen, if king g7 then just e7, and there's no stopping this pawn on d7. Black took on b5, now king f2, just trying to include his rook, and also to escape to the safety zone. King e7 by black, and now bishop e3, trying to go for bishop g5. Now Maxime tries bishop b6 to exchange bishops, but it doesn't help. Rook d1 by Rapport, and after this, now d8 queen is a huge threat. If king d7, just e7 and queen, checkmate. Black tried this one, but after king f4, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave resigned because he has to exchange rooks. After, let's say, rook d3, you can capture and go king g5 and just go after these pawns on the king side. The a pawn cannot do much, because if you, let's say, if you try bishop b5, you go king h6, a5, you take on h7, a4, bishop a2, bishop d3, you take on g6 and you take everything. Now you have also d8 queen, king f7 ideas. So that was it. the first game of semifinals. Now MVL has to win on demand. Thank you so much for watching this. Any questions, comment section. See you soon. Bye bye. Bye.